doesn't seem that long ago that road checks were a pretty random process. Vehicles were stopped as police used their instinct, prohibitions were issued on paper and records kept in faraway offices. The information revolution has changed all that. Today, VOSA's enforcement teams are armed with computers that instantly tell if an operator or a driver has an outstanding prohibition. Number plates can be read electronically. Vehicles weighed on the move, and VOSA has its own stopper cars. Just as technology has moved on, so has VOSA in the way it takes action and deals with offences. The latest of which is the issuing of graduated fixed penalties and the taking of deposit payments.
For the first time since we've been an enforcement agency, this gives us really something effective sanction against those people who are breaking the law and driving unsafe vehicles. And it also means that we've got a fair way of applying these sanctions regardless of the nationality of the driver involved.
FTA supports graduated fixed penalties because for some years we've seen mounting evidence gathered by VOSA that vehicles entering this country operated by foreign operators do not meet good road safety standards. They're often not maintained in good condition and the drivers don't always comply with the European Drivers' Hours rules. Therefore there is a road safety issue. VOSA statistics also show that the rate of compliance by British operators is much greater than those of visiting vehicles. So therefore, if British operators' drivers are compliant, they shouldn't have any great fear from these new fixed penalties.
I've analysed your charts. There is some infringements you've committed there. You've exceeded your daily driving period.
With the introduction of fixed penalties, drivers of light goods, HGVs, buses and coaches will see a marked change in the way offences are dealt with at the roadside.
You'll be here until you've observed the period of rest that you need to take.
So Ian, is there just one penalty?
No, the penalties are in relation to the offence committed and the risk to road safety, hence the term graduated fixed penalties.
And what kind of offences do they cover?
We can actually cover most of the offences that we encounter at the roadside, such as driver's hours, mechanical defects, etc. Most of the things that we come across, really.
And what if there's more than one offence? What happens then?
Well, that's quite straightforward. We literally just add them together.
And if a driver is guilty of an offence, will their licence be endorsed?
Fixed penalties issued to steering defects, braking defects or tyres do carry obligatory endorsement of a driving licence, yeah.
So they'll get points, basically?
Yeah, they'll get points on the licence, yeah.
What about more serious offences? What happens then?
For more serious offences, such as falsifying records, they'll still be dealt with by the courts as they are now.
And graduated fixed penalties, are they going to be issued to all drivers that are guilty of offences, regardless of, say, nationality?
That's right, yeah. Anyone we encounter at the roadside that's committed an offence, regardless of where they're from, they will get a fixed penalty.
So what about repeat offenders?
Well, every offence a driver commits will be kept on our VOSA driver database, and that information will be passed to the traffic commissioners for repeat offenders. Ultimately, if drivers keep attracting fixed penalties, they can find that disciplinary action will be taken against their vocational driving licence.
So if I'm a driver and I've attracted a fixed penalty, what am I going to be asked for at the roadside?
At the roadside, you'll need to give our examiners details of an address within the UK where you can be contacted in the event of future proceedings. Those who can't give those details are usually drivers that reside outside the UK.
So if I'm a foreign driver, I'll be treated differently then, will I?
That's right. They'll have to make a payment sort of on the spot, if you like, and that's a deposit.
OK, say I'm a foreign driver, I'm in the UK and I've committed a more serious offence. Say, for example, I falsified my tachograph records. What happens then?
Well, for more serious offences like that committed by foreign drivers, drivers will receive a notice of court proceedings and they'll be required for each offence to pay a penalty of £300, up to a maximum of £900.
So how would I pay?
Following a lot of research we did in Europe, we expect most drivers will be paying with a credit card. And our examiners at the roadside will be carrying chip and pin machines, like you see there, that they have in most shops now, so most people are familiar with them.
OK, what about if I don't want to pay like that? Will you accept cash?
We'd prefer not to take cash, but if the driver hasn't got any other method of payment, then we will accept cash as a payment, only in sterling, and we will give a receipt.
OK, so I'm going to go back to being a UK driver now, and I've got a fixed penalty. I provided a UK address. How do I go about paying for my...
OK, well, at the roadside, you'll be given a fixed penalty notice, as you see there. And you'll be advised on how to make payments at the VOSA fixed penalty office. And you can pay by cash, cheque or postal order through the post, or you can actually telephone in and pay with a card over the phone. And also, on the back of the fixed penalty notice, there is details there on how to pay as well.
So if I did live outside the UK, would my rights be different?
No, you still retain the same rights as a UK-based driver.
And what are those rights?
Well, if you disagree with the offence, then you can opt to have your case heard in court, but you must let VOSA know within 28 days. However, you must still pay the fixed penalty at the roadside, or you'll face prohibition or possibly even immobilisation.
Immobilisation? What are we talking about there then? Some kind of wheel clamp or something?
Not quite a wheel clamp, because that might not fit on this size of vehicle.
No.
What we're talking about is a steel rope and an industrial strength padlock, which we would use to immobilise the vehicle. Can't go any further.
And can they be used on all types of vehicles?
Yeah, we can, pretty much anything we come across as the roadside, light goods vehicles, articulated vehicles, trailers, you name it, buses, coaches, it'll fit.
And who will attach these?
Only VOSA enforcement officers are allowed to attach these devices.
What if I was tempted to try to remove it?
Well, you shouldn't do that, obviously, and I'm sure you wouldn't. But if anyone does try to remove it or illegally tampers with the device, then they will face court and a high fine.
So not a good idea then?
No, definitely not.
Give us a couple of examples of when they'll be used.
Vehicles that have been prohibited and that face a serious risk to other road users will face being immobilised.
So will they be used for any type of prohibition?
Well, they can be for prohibitions from driver's hours, overloading or roadworthiness defects, but it depends on the risk to road safety. If we consider there's a serious risk, then we can and we will immobilise the vehicle. Or perhaps the driver's refusing to pay the deposit, then we can immobilise the vehicle as well.
And when are they going to be introduced?
Well, we hope to introduce it at the same time as the fixed penalties.
The best thing, of course, is to avoid getting a fixed penalty in the first place. How do drivers do that?
Well, it's straightforward, really. Play by the rules. Ensure that your vehicle's not overloaded. Make sure that you've got all the documents that you need for your journey. And additionally, ensure the driver does his daily walk-round check and make sure there's no mechanical defects that may attract a fixed penalty when he goes out on the road. Make sure the vehicle's fit for purpose and shouldn't have a problem.
Graduated fixed penalties are being introduced by VOSA to make the system more consistent, transparent and fair. But in the bigger picture, it's also about VOSA applying sanctions in an effective and proportionate way, about keeping pace with the times and about continuing VOSA's commitment to improving road safety.
The industry has been highly supportive of it. We've talked to a lot of our customers about it, and they're really supportive of it, really, because what the industry wants to do is to be compliant, it wants to be fair, and it wants to make sure those people who are flouting the law and doing things on the cheap don't get away with it.
Graduated fixed penalties are being introduced by VOSA to make the system more consistent, transparent and fair. But in the bigger picture, it's also about VOSA applying sanctions in an effective and proportionate way, about keeping pace with the times and about continuing VOSA's commitment to improving road safety.
The industry has been highly supportive of it. We've talked to a lot of our customers about it, and they're really supportive of it, really, because what the industry wants to do is to be compliant, it wants to be fair, and it wants to make sure those people who are flouting the law and doing things on the cheap don't get away with it.